Thanks very much. I seem to have the first slot this evening, which is very pleasant. So on behalf of the graduate school and certainly the head of the graduate school, David Bogle, who couldn't be here tonight, it's a real pleasure to attend this evening's event. Certainly it's quite exciting for me. One of my roles in UCL is a Provost for South Asia and the Middle East, which means I get to travel to India quite often. And of course, as you all know, India's full of entrepreneurs and enterprise. So it's actually rather nice to be in UCL, in a room full of entrepreneurs and people who are interested in enterprise. So that's a real great thing for UCL. From a graduate school perspective, I must admit, when I first started on my PhD studies I think it was 27 years ago or so, I was working in a lab area, science-based sort of biochemistry, and if you mentioned the words entrepreneur or enterprise, people looked at you in a rather strange way. And certainly that persisted, I seem to recollect, throughout my PhD, and the ideas of skill development courses and people talking about actually skills in the context of your greater education was certainly very alien. I then went to Oxford, and almost as soon as I started there, people said, "Hey, Vince, that particular mechanism or that particular idea you're developing, that's really interesting, we can patent that, and hopefully it will go to award and we can get some exploitation." So a very different culture in the next sort of couple of years, and I think that really sort of opened my eyes to the fact that we're all there busy doing our research. We need to be aware of what's available for sort of enterprise, entrepreneurship, etc. And certainly been at UCL for just about 20 years in this greater sort of side of things, and that was a culture that very much came with me, and certainly over the last 20 years or so we've prosecuted a number of patents in the sort of specific biological area that I work in, some of which fortunately have been exploited and some of which unfortunately have not been exploited, but hey, that's life. And I think it's really important that from a graduate school perspective, clearly we want to support you as students as much as possible to, again, facilitate you being entrepreneurs, you being enterprising individuals. And as I think many of you know, in the skills development courses, the graduate school doesn't formally offer those. What we do is commission them from a variety of providers. And clearly through Steve Carroll and UCL Advances and many other sectors of the UCL community, many of whom you'll be hearing from later this evening, we've actually commissioned courses to allow you access to key skill development that will hopefully facilitate your research, your interests, your skill development in this broad area of enterprise, innovation and entrepreneurship. I think it's also worth bearing in mind that we tend to think of entrepreneurs and people in the sort of enterprising and innovative areas often around the science, engineering and technology. How many people here tonight are not from science, engineering and technology disciplines? So there are a few. So I guess the important message is that, entrepreneurship, enterprise, cross-cuts all discipline areas. So clearly it's really important that we encourage all of our student body to engage with this whole process. I think it's also important to remember that I suspect most of you here are actually research-based postgraduates. We do have a very large community of master's students at UCL, some 4,500. And again, I think it's really beholden upon us to engage that community with the sort of areas that we're going to be talking about this evening. So I'm not going to go on for very much longer. I'm going to say that it's a great occasion. It's nice to see so many people here. It's a real pleasure for me to open the proceedings. I look forward to hearing many of the presentations this evening and also networking with the odd glass of wine. So well done everyone, and speak to you later.